Picture this. You come home after a long day, open the refrigerator, and it's empty. Yesterday's leftovers are gone, that casserole you made is finished, there's not even a slice of bread left. You stand there in front of the fridge and that familiar carousel of thoughts starts spinning in your head. What am I going to make? Maybe pasta? But we had that yesterday. Scrambled eggs? But there are no eggs. Should I go to the store? But it's cold outside. It gets dark so early now. Your feet are aching after a whole day, and the idea of going anywhere just makes you feel more exhausted. And the energy to stand at the stove and start chopping, boiling, frying, there's just none left. Your hands are shaking from tiredness, your back is aching, and the only thing you want is to sit down, rest, eat something warm and tasty. But the fridge is empty, and this vicious cycle repeats day after day. Now imagine a completely different scenario. You come home, open that same refrigerator, but there are neat containers with ready-made meals inside. Chicken noodle soup, beef chili, turkey meatloaf, ground beef with rice. Everything's labeled, everything's portioned, everything was prepared ahead of time by your own hands. You take out one container, pop it in the microwave for 3 minutes, and moments later there's a hot, aromatic, delicious meal on your table. No trips to the grocery store, no standing at the stove, no panic about what am I going to eat today. Just peace of mind, confidence, and taking care of yourself. Sounds like a dream? Actually, it's a simple reality you can create in one day for the whole week ahead. But how exactly does this work? Why isn't it as complicated as it seems? And why is it especially important right now, when you have less energy, but your appetite hasn't gone anywhere? Let's start with the main secret that changes everything. It's called meal prep, cooking for several days at once with freezing in portions. This isn't about complicated diets or trendy magazine articles. It's about simple, smart self-care. The idea is simple. You choose one day a week, maybe Saturday or Sunday when you have a little more time and energy. You spend 2 or 3 hours, make 5 different dishes at once, divide them into containers, and freeze them. And then every day throughout the week, you just take out a container, reheat it, and eat. No daily trips to the grocery store, no impulse purchases of expensive frozen dinners, no pasta again because there's nothing else left. And the most surprising thing, it's not only convenient and tasty, but also cheaper by 1.5 to 2 times. Because you buy groceries in bulk, cook in large batches right away, and there's practically no waste. Why is this especially important right now, when the years are taking their toll and life isn't getting easier? Because as we age, it's not just appetite that changes, but also strength and capabilities. Your hands get tired chopping vegetables every day, the knife feels heavier, your fingers aren't as nimble, your back hurts from standing at the stove for a long time, half an hour on your feet feels like forever. And sometimes you just don't have the mood to think about food, plan menus, remember what's left in the fridge, what you need to buy. But hunger doesn't go anywhere. Your body needs nutrition, energy, vitamins. And when there's ready-made soup or hearty chili waiting in the freezer, it's not just food, it's freedom. Freedom from daily routine, freedom to eat well even on the most exhausting day, freedom from depending on delivery or help from neighbors. But here's what's interesting. Many people think that meals prepared ahead and frozen are boring mush, tasteless vegetables, or something like hospital food. In reality, it's exactly the opposite. You can make your favorite flavors: hearty chicken noodle soup with carrots and celery, aromatic beef chili with beans and peppers, tender turkey meatloaf with barbecue glaze, filling ground beef with rice and vegetables, even dessert like baked apples with cinnamon and oats. The key is simple recipes with products that are always on hand or easy to buy at your local grocery store. Potatoes, carrots, chicken, rice, ground beef, beans, apples. Nothing exotic, nothing expensive, nothing you need to hunt for in specialty sections. And after freezing, these dishes don't lose their taste. In fact, many of them, especially chili and meatloaf, become even richer because the sauce has time to really soak in. And you know what the main bonus is that few people think about? It's control over what you eat. When you cook yourself, you know exactly how much salt you put in, how much butter you used, what vegetables you added. You can use less salt if you're watching your blood pressure, more vegetables if you want something lighter, portions exactly right so there's enough but you don't overeat. No preservatives, artificial colors, flavor enhancers that store-bought frozen dinners are packed with. Just clean ingredients that you chose yourself. And this isn't just about health, it's about respecting yourself, about care that starts with your plate. Now let's figure out why freezing specifically is real magic. Regular refrigerator storage gives you 2 or 3 days maximum, and that's assuming the food doesn't spoil or lose its appearance and taste. But freezing, that's 2 weeks, sometimes even more. Dishes don't spoil, don't lose vitamins if you package them properly. Containers are airtight, small, 1 portion each, so you don't have to thaw a lot at once.
You thaw exactly as much as you need for one meal, heat it in the microwave for 3 to 5 minutes, and it's ready. No waste, no spoiled food, no agonizing, "I'll definitely throw it out tomorrow, but today it can sit one more day." And if guests unexpectedly drop by or relatives come over, you pull out an extra portion from the freezer, reheat it, and everyone's happy. It's like having a personal chef who works around the clock, just without a salary, without tantrums, and without mess in the kitchen. Another unexpected twist that many people don't consider: this isn't just for people who live alone. If you're cooking for yourself and your spouse, or sometimes help a neighbor, or grandkids come over on weekends, just scale it up. Double the portions, and there's enough for everyone. Triple them, and you can even share. The time savings grow exponentially. Instead of 5 days of daily cooking, 1 day of work, and a whole week of freedom. And the most touching, most important thing: when you eat your pre-made food, you don't feel helpless or dependent on someone else's help, but in control of the situation. It's a small victory every day that accumulates and gives you strength for many other things: for a walk, for meeting friends, for hobbies, for life.
Now let's talk about what often stops people from this approach. First objection: it's complicated. I can't handle it. Actually, no. The recipes we'll go over next are so simple that even someone who hasn't cooked anything but scrambled eggs in a long time can handle them. Everything is cut in large pieces so your hands don't get tired. Everything is boiled or stewed on its own without constant stirring. No complicated techniques, no special skills. Second objection: I don't have room in my freezer. But for 5 containers of about 10 ounces each, you need very little space, about 1 shelf. And if you clear out those old bags with mysterious contents that have been sitting there for years, you'll definitely find room. Third objection: it doesn't taste good after thawing. But try it just once, and you'll see it's a myth. Soups, chili, meatloaf, after freezing and reheating, taste exactly the same as freshly made, and sometimes even better, because the sauce has time to penetrate the meat or vegetables. And here's something else important to understand. This isn't about saving for the sake of saving, not about being cheap or stingy. It's about knowing how to manage your resources, time, energy, money, so that life becomes easier and more pleasant. When you cook for the week, you're not just saving money on store-bought frozen dinners. You're saving your nerves because you know lunch is already ready. You're saving your health because you're eating home-cooked food, not fast food. You're saving time that you can spend on things that really bring joy: on a book, on calling an old friend, on knitting, on your favorite TV show. And this isn't selfishness. It's taking care of yourself, which makes you stronger and more confident. Now imagine that a week after you try this approach, you no longer remember the empty fridge and panic before every meal. Instead, you have a plan. Today, chicken noodle soup; tomorrow, beef chili; day after tomorrow, turkey meatloaf with rice. No surprises, no stress, just taste, comfort, and peace of mind. And most importantly, in the next part, we'll go over exactly these 5 recipes step by step, with precise proportions, with tips on how to simplify the process, so that even if your hands don't obey very well or standing for long is hard, everything turns out perfectly. Watch until the end, and you'll have your own personal plan for a delicious week without hassle, stress, and extra expenses. Because sometimes taking care of yourself starts with your plate, and confidence in tomorrow with a full refrigerator. Now we move on to the most interesting part: what we're here for: 5 simple, tested recipes that you can make in 2 or 3 hours and freeze for the whole week ahead. Each one is designed specifically for older folks: minimal complicated chopping, minimal standing at the stove, maximum taste, benefit, and that very self-care we talked about in the first part. You don't need to be a chef. You don't need 10 pots and pans. You don't need to look for rare ingredients. Everything as simple, accessible, and clear as possible. Let's start with the first recipe, which will warm you on any cold day and be a real lifesaver when you want something warm and cozy. First recipe: chicken noodle soup. This is a classic that never fails. Tender, comforting, filling, and incredibly simple to make. Take 4 medium chicken thighs, bone in, skin on. They're more flavorful and forgiving than breast meat. 3 medium carrots, 3 celery stalks, 1 medium onion, yellow or white doesn't matter. A handful of egg noodles, about 2 cups. A tablespoon of butter, that's about ½ an ounce. Salt to taste. You can add a pinch of black pepper and some dried parsley if you like. Start simple. Rinse the chicken under cold water. Pat it dry with paper towels. Peel the carrots and gut them into big chunks, about 1 inch thick. No need for fine dicing. Let them be chunky so your hands don't get tired from endless chopping. Celery cut the same way, big pieces. Onion cut into quarters. That's it. Put the chicken in a large pot. Add the vegetables. Fill with water to cover everything by about 2 inches, about 8 cups total. Salt it, add pepper,
Bring to a boil over high heat, then reduce to medium-low and simmer covered for about 45 minutes until the chicken is fully cooked and tender. When it's done, carefully take out the chicken with tongs. Let it cool for a few minutes on a plate. Meanwhile, fish out and discard the onion pieces. They've done their job flavoring the broth. Take the chicken off the bones, discard the skin and bones, shred or chop the meat into bite-sized pieces. Return the chicken to the pot, add the egg noodles. Cook for another 8 to 10 minutes until the noodles are tender. Stir in that tablespoon of butter for richness and that comforting flavor that makes soup really feel like home. Taste for salt, add more if needed. Now the important part. Let the soup cool to room temperature. This is essential, otherwise ice crystals will form in the freezer and ruin the texture. Ladle into plastic containers in portions of about 12 to 14 ounces. That's just right for one meal. Close the lids, label with a marker, chicken noodle soup, December 8, so you don't have to guess later what's in there. Place in the freezer flat so the soup freezes evenly. To reheat, 3 minutes in the microwave, stir, and you have hot, filling soup that will warm you on the coldest day. Second recipe, beef chili. This dish you can eat on its own, or add it to rice, serve with cornbread, or just with crackers. It's rich, hearty, with warmth from spices and depth from slow simmering. Take 1 pound of ground beef. 80-20 blend is perfect, not too lean or it'll be dry. 1 can of kidney beans, drained and rinsed, that's about 15 ounces. 1 can of diced tomatoes with their juice, also 15 ounces. 1 bell pepper, red or green, your choice. 1 medium onion, 2 cloves of garlic, chili powder, cumin, salt, a pinch of cayenne if you like a little heat. A tablespoon of oil for cooking. Start by chopping the onion into rough chunks. No need for perfect dicing, just get it cut up. Bell pepper the same way. Cut into strips about 1 inch wide. Mince the garlic or use a garlic press if chopping is hard on your hands. Heat a large pot or Dutch oven over medium heat. Add the oil. Cook the onion and bell pepper for about 5 minutes until they soften, stirring occasionally. Add the garlic, cook for another minute until fragrant. Now add the ground beef. Break it up with a wooden spoon. Cook for about 8 to 10 minutes until browned and no pink remains. Drain off most of the fat if there's a lot, leaving just a tablespoon or so for flavor. Add the chili powder, start with 2 tablespoons, the cumin, 1 tablespoon, salt to taste, that pinch of cayenne if you want it. Stir it all together, let the spices toast for a minute. Now add the diced tomatoes with their juice and the kidney beans. Stir well, bring to a simmer, then reduce heat to low, cover, and let it cook for 30 minutes. Don't lift the lid too often, just let it do its thing. The flavors will meld, the sauce will thicken, and your kitchen will smell amazing. When it's done, remove from heat and let it cool completely. Portion into containers about 12 ounces each. Label and freeze flat. This chili keeps all its flavor and texture after freezing. Reheat it with some shredded cheese on top, maybe a dollop of sour cream, serve with cornbread or crackers, and you have a complete, satisfying meal in 5 minutes. If you want it even heartier, you can add some cooked macaroni when reheating.
Third recipe, turkey meatloaf. This is the most comforting, home-style dish of all 5, perfect for those days when you want something substantial and familiar, something that feels like Sunday dinner. Take 1.5 pounds of ground turkey. Don't get the extra lean. Get 85-15 or 93-7. You need a little fat for moisture. 1 cup of breadcrumbs or crushed crackers. 1 egg. Half a cup of ketchup, divided. 1 small onion, finely chopped or grated so you don't have big chunks. Salt, pepper, a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce if you have it. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. 1 tablespoon of yellow mustard. Start with the meat mixture. In a large bowl, combine the ground turkey, breadcrumbs, egg, 1/4 cup of the ketchup, the onion, salt, pepper, and Worcestershire sauce. Mix it all together with your hands until just combined. Don't overmix or the meatloaf will be tough. Shape it into a loaf about 8 inches long and 4 inches wide. Place it in a baking dish or on a rimmed baking sheet lined with foil. Now make the glaze. Mix the remaining 1/4 cup of ketchup with the brown sugar and mustard. Spread this all over the top of the meatloaf. Bake in a 350-degree oven for about 50 minutes until the internal temperature reaches 165 degrees. If you don't have a thermometer, just make sure the juices run clear when you poke it. Let it cool for 10 minutes, then slice it into portions about 1 inch thick. You should get about 6 to 8 slices. Place 2 slices in each container, about 10 to 12 ounces total. The glaze keeps it moist during freezing and reheating. This freezes beautifully for 2 weeks. Reheat in the microwave with mashed potatoes and green beans on the side, or make the sides fresh while the meatloaf heats, and you have a complete dinner that tastes homemade because it is. Kids and grandkids love this one too. It's familiar and comforting. Everything meatloaf should be. Fourth recipe, ground beef with rice and vegetables. This is a 1-dish meal, complete protein, carbs, and vegetables all together. Perfect for when you need something filling and balanced. Take 1 pound of ground beef, again, 80-20 is good, 1 cup of long grain white rice, 2 carrots, 1 onion, 1 cup of frozen peas, keep them frozen, we'll add them at the end, 2 cups of beef broth or just water with a bouillon cube, salt, pepper,
a bay leaf if you have one, maybe a pinch of garlic powder. Start by cooking the rice. Rinse it under cold water until the water runs clear, then cook it in a pot with 2 cups of water and a pinch of salt for about 15 minutes until tender and the water is absorbed. Fluff it with a fork and set aside. While the rice cooks, handle the meat and vegetables. Chop the onion finely or grate it, whichever is easier on your hands. Grate the carrots on a box grater. Heat a large skillet over medium heat, add the ground beef, break it up with a spoon, cook for about 8 minutes until browned. Drain most of the fat, leaving just a little. Add the onion and carrots, cook for another 5 minutes until softened. Season with salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Add the cooked rice to the skillet, stir everything together. Add the frozen peas, stir again, let it heat through for 2 minutes. If it seems dry, add a splash of that beef broth. Taste and adjust seasoning. Remove from heat and let it cool. Portion into containers about 12 to 14 ounces each. This is a complete meal. Meat, grain, vegetables, all in one. The beef stays tender, the rice stays fluffy, and the vegetables keep their color and texture. Reheat in the microwave for 4 minutes, stirring halfway through. It's like a homemade version of those rice bowls you'd get from a restaurant, but healthier, cheaper, and made with love. 5th recipe, baked apples with oats and cinnamon. This is a light dessert or breakfast, something you can eat cold or warm, with vanilla ice cream, with yogurt, with a drizzle of honey, however you like. Take 4 medium apples, Granny Smith or Honeycrisp work great, they hold their shake when baked. Half a cup of old-fashioned oats, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of butter, melted, a handful of raisins or chopped pecans if you like. Core the apples but leave the bottom intact, you're making a little cup to hold the filling. If coring is hard, just cut the apples in half and scoop out the seeds with a spoon, that works too. Mix the oats, brown sugar, cinnamon, melted butter, and raisins in a bowl until combined. Stuff this mixture into the apple cavities, pressing down gently. Place the apples in a baking dish. Add about ½ inch of water to the bottom of the dish. Cover with foil and bake at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. Remove the foil, bake for another 10 minutes until the apples are tender and the topping is slightly crispy. Let them cool completely. Place each apple in its own container or wrap individually in plastic wrap and then foil. Freeze for up to 2 weeks. To serve, thaw at room temperature for about 30 minutes, or microwave for 1 minute. The apples will be soft, warm, sweet with that cinnamon fragrance, and the oats give it a nice texture. This is perfect for when you want something sweet but wholesome, without processed sugar or heavy cream. Serve it with a spoonful of vanilla yogurt or a small scoop of ice cream for a real treat. It's the kind of dessert that feels indulgent but is actually good for you. Now, a few very important tips about freezing that will make your life even easier. Use only plastic containers with tight-fitting lids, about 10 to 14 ounces. That's the perfect size for one portion. Don't use glass jars, they can crack in the freezer. Before putting them in the freezer, make sure to cool the dishes to room temperature so condensation doesn't form inside the container. Otherwise, the food will get covered in ice and lose its taste. Label every container with a permanent marker or sticker, dish name and date made. This is very important because after a week you might forget what's where. Freeze containers flat in a single layer so they take up less space and freeze faster. Once frozen, you can stack them on top of each other. Reheat only in the microwave or using a double boiler method. Don't reboil on the stove to preserve all the vitamins, texture, and flavor. If you have time, it's better to thaw in advance by moving the container from the freezer to the refrigerator the night before. That way, the dish thaws gently, evenly, without losing quality. But if you don't have time, the microwave will handle it in 5 minutes. Don't thaw at room temperature, especially meat dishes. It's not safe. And remember, once you've thawed something, eat it. Don't refreeze it. That kills both taste and nutrition.
Try making at least 2 of these 5 recipes this week. You'll be amazed at how your relationship with food and with yourself changes. Instead of exhaustion, an empty fridge, and the eternal question, what am I going to eat today? You'll have a feeling of control, confidence, and real self-care. Every time you take a container out of the freezer, you'll remember that you took care of yourself in advance. It's a small but very important victory. Share this with neighbors, friends, family. Let everyone have their own plan for a delicious, filling, calm week without hassle and stress. Because sometimes simple advanced cooking becomes a real gift to yourself and your loved ones, a gift of time, health, and peace of mind.